Hey gardeners, Amy here with Garden Up. Today I want to clean up this back shade corner I have in my front yard. So I haven't done much with this flower bed yet this year. There were weeds coming up at the same time as my hostas, so I didn't even shuffle hoe the weeds in the beginning. They got out of control. I had that giant burdock right here. We finally took that out last week, but this whole corner has just become an absolutely overgrown disaster. And I've got a bunch of shade plants that I bought last year that are just still in pots that I haven't gotten the ground yet that I bought for this area. So anyway, it's going to be a big job, and I thought I would make a video of a before and after of this. And then also the cherry tree. If I'm hitting my head on the branches, I know that it's time to be pruned. So that's going to be a separate video. Alan Vesley is going to come back and help me prune this. You know, I thought it'd be fun to do another video with Alan, and I would love to get a professional's opinion on how to do this properly. I've been pruning it for several years since I bought the house, but I want to get a second opinion. Am I even doing it right? I don't know. We'll find out. So anyway, so this is going to get taken care of in a separate video as well. But let me show you around the corner and why this is such a mess, and then I'll dive right in and get started. So I've got a lot of things going on here. There's prickly lettuce that's going to seed. That needs to go. This aster right here, it gets too much shade, and it's getting powdery mildew, which I have not treated. Normally I just treat that with baking soda, but I have not even had time to do that this year. It's better to put the plant in the right place to begin with, so that you don't have to treat for things like this. It's shaded by the house for half of the day, and asters do not like shade. They tend to get powdery mildew whenever they get any shade or water on the leaves. So I'm going to wait till fall, but then I'm going to move this somewhere into the other parts of the flower bed, where it will get full sun all day. So here I have my strawberries. I have this awesome porcelain vine, which is invasive in some parts of the country, but definitely not here. That's, you know, as much growth as I've ever seen on it. These lilies didn't get enough water, but these are super cool. I got these from my neighbor's house, and they spread by these little bulblets that grow out of the leaf nodes. So I saw those on her lilies, and I'd never seen that before, and I thought I was crazy, but I was like, those sure look like little bulbs. They have roots and everything, and so I planted them, and one day I'll do a whole video on how these things reproduce, because it's completely unique as far as that goes, but those are really cool, suffice it to say. So I've got all that. I've got this very overgrown cherry as a walk-through arbor. We've got the spot that the burdock was. The dicentra is still alive, which is surprising. The other plants are starting to come back now that they've gotten a little bit of water and their own sunshine and they have their own space. But this bed is just a mess. Like, there's dead leaves everywhere, there's dead plant tissue, and then there's all the plants over here that look like heck because they don't get enough water. And again, this is partially because the cherry tree's overgrown, because when I put the sprinkler out there in the yard, it hits these branches and never gets back here. So that's part of the problem. And then there's a few more weeds just to deal with. So I'm going to take care of that today and get this all cleaned up, and then we'll show an after. So I'm gonna support this aster because it's so tall and floppy. I never did cut it back this year. It's full of mildew. It just looks like heck. But I don't want it to flop over in the walkway. That would be really inconvenient. We'd be hitting it with our legs all the time. So I'm going to use some supports to hold this up, and hopefully it'll at least make it look a little prettier for the rest of the year. These supports, I absolutely love these. They're a single piece of metal, but they have the long stake, a loop, and then this like quarter circle or something, and a hook, and they hook into each other. And they can, you can make them any size you need, and I absolutely love them. If you can find these, definitely buy them. They're very useful, very versatile. So to use them, I just put one in here, another one right next to, right where the hook will be. I'll line them up. Now once I have these all kind of lined up is when I just open them and I gather up the plants. Put them up in there. And hook to each other. There we go. Now it at least looks like it's supposed to be here. So that's good. Perfect. Let's go under the tree. So I always use the shuffle hoe and then use the expandable rake one more time just to smooth everything out and make it look real nice and tidy. And in this case, pick up a few more dead junky leaves. This spot here, all this looks like heck for two reasons. Back in the spring when I should have weeded it was right when the hostas were starting to come up. So rather than using the shuffle hoe, I thought I'll come back in a week or so when the hostas are fully up. And of course I never did that. So we had weeds everywhere. And then the other reason is because that giant greater burdock was right here and it was shading out, hogging all the water and resources from all my other plants. So now all the other plants are struggling. I really shouldn't have left that burdock, but it made a pretty cool video, I think. So if you missed that video, make sure to go back and watch it because it was pretty cool. All right, I have all these plants back here that I bought a year ago, I think, to put in over here, and I just have not done it. So now they look terrible, just like everything else in my own yard. But let's get them out of the way. You know that ugly side of your house that everybody has but nobody talks about? That's this. Try to how bad this looks. This I've been saving for a future video about how things get root bound when they're not planted right. That'll be coming soon. Much better. Now my husband can stop complaining about this side. Ah. Apparently, I have another little oak tree to dig up there. Okay, so I'll give a little summary of everything I'm planting as I put it in. These are all things I've just picked up at the nursery because they were gorgeous, or they were things I bought for a client and the client changed their mind, or they didn't like the color or whatever, so I had to bring them home. And I never end up taking returns to the nursery because I never make it back, whatever. Anyway, so I've got several hellebores. I love hellebores. These are gorgeous. They bloom in the late winter and really early spring, so you get a little bit of color when it's like February and March. They're really nice. And the rest of the year they have this nice mound of green foliage. It's really pretty. So this one's called Penny's Pink Hellebore, and it's going to go right back here. I also have Winter Bell's Hellebore, which this one's going to be white. And then back behind me I have another Regertia. I'm not sure how I managed to buy two of the same kind, but it's Bronze Peacock Regertia. All of these plants like shade. The hellebore and my hostas are somewhat tolerant of drought, which is why they're back here, as I do have a hard time getting this watered more often than not. The Regertia prefers moist. It says tolerates moist soil. Which is probably why my other one has never really thrived, because I don't get that much water back here. But they're beautiful plants, and I'll do my best to keep these watered. I have the Dicentra that we threw in the ground over here when we dug up that burdock. It's not something I want to plant in the front of the bed for two reasons. One, it will get quite large when it's growing, which is it's too big for the front of a bed. And two, midsummer these tend to die back. They usually just die and go away and turn yellow, and they're kind of ugly looking. So it's something that I want to hide more towards the back of the bed so that it's the dead parts hidden behind other plants. So I'm actually going to move it back behind here and then have the hellebore in front of it, and then that hosta there, and then this hosta that's not doing well because it didn't get any water thanks to the burdock. They should all hide the dead and dying growth from the bleeding part. Let me get that much done, and then we'll talk about what else I have. This one's a little bit root bound. Not too bad, but enough that I can't really get it apart with my hands. Remember, when planting, if you've got something that's root bound, it's far better to beat up the roots and tear them apart than it is to put it in the ground in the shape of a pot. Because most plants, the roots will never escape. This is especially true with woody plants, which this is not. This is a much more herbaceous and soft-rooted, but if you've got a plant with woody roots, you cannot leave them in the shape of a pot because they will be that way forever. I did a whole video on how to save a root-bound plant, so make sure to check that one out if you're interested. One of the videos I've been meaning to do this year was what happens when you don't take these apart, because we've dug up a lot of things that other landscapers and homeowners have planted where it was still in the shape of a pot, and the plant still had pot-shaped roots years after it was planted, and then the plant died. That's exactly what happens. I want to make a mound with the soil and then spread the roots out. Okay, that way they're forced to get out. I still left quite a few pot-shaped roots up at the top, but the bottom ones, that's where the feeders are, and that's what's really, really important. With a woody plant, like I said, I would have taken everything apart. I always make my little moats. This is to hold the water right where the roots are so it can get established, and over time they just kind of collapse. This is interesting. They've got 2 layers of soil in this pot. Looks like they used some decomposed wood. Again, I'm breaking up the root ball, so I don't want it to be pot bound. This one's not very tight like the last one though, so this is good. Okay, all right. That goes right at the top, level with the soil. I'm not pushing down around the plant. I'm just smoothing the soil and kind of tucking it in, picking the roots and extra stuff that fell off and disposing of it just for aesthetic purposes. All right. The last few things that I got that I want to put in today are all heucheras. The common name for these is coral bells, and they come in so many different colors. They're just absolutely stunning. So this one is September Morn. Okay, so it's just a nice, almost chartreuse. It's had a few leaf-eating bugs eating it. This one, Saturn. This one's lost a bit of its color. Saturn was a little bit bolder when I bought it, but sitting for a year plus some in a pot is not very good for these things. This one is my favorite. This is Midnight Rose. I love these spotted leaves, like dark, almost black with a pinky purple fleck on the leaves. Just so cool. And the last one I have is Forever Purple. These all love shade. They need a little bit of water, but they should do well over here as long as I keep this bed regularly watered. I have one more that I'm pretty sure is dead. This one's called Red Lightning, but like any true gardener, don't believe it's dead until it actually proves it. It might come back. I just didn't ever get enough water into this pot for the last year, and it never came back well from winter, so I'm gonna throw it in the ground and see what happens. And might come back, it might not, but I love this one has the chartreuse leaves with the red veins it looks like a starburst type thing. It's really cool. So I'm gonna throw that over here. This one will be tricky to plant because there's a bunch of cherry roots right here. This, very few roots. They're not bound at all, so I'm not going to actually mess up that pot much. This right here is about where that box is that we covered the burdock root with. I think I want to be able to dig that up in a year or so and really look at what's going on under there. It's about 1.5 to 2 feet down, so it'll be easy to find. It'll be easy to excavate, but I don't really want to have to dig up one of my plants to get to it. So that's why this heuchera is going to go so close to the edge. I actually think I should switch which one, because I have purple, and then chartreuse and light green, so I should switch these. So back over here, I left a couple of things that are usually considered weeds. So this one here, this is called broadleaf plantain, and I left it because, I left a few of them, because it has some really great medicinal properties. I'm not an expert in this, so I'm not going to talk about it. You'll have to look that up if you're interested in it. It is very good for several things. And then this is lamium, which I'm hoping actually establishes in here because it's a really pretty ground cover. I've got a couple more foxgloves that seeded over there too, which doesn't surprise me because I had a foxglove right over here that went to seed last summer, and I left it on purpose purely so the seeds would spread. But I would have preferred, had I had more time, to actually control where the seeds went. But, you know, whatever. I'm pretty carefree in my own garden. I just kind of let things do what they want. The last thing I'll talk about, but I'm not going to plant these today, is black, I don't even know how to pronounce this one, Black Negligee Simicifuga. And this is new to me. I don't even remember buying this, let alone buying 2 of them. No idea. So I must have bought these last year, and I'm sure I was really excited about them when I bought them, and then never got them in the ground, and that's why they look like heck now. But these prefer sun to part shade, so I think I'm going to put one of them where this aster is right now, because this is just too shaded. It does not like this spot. I'm going to move this in the fall. So I'll put one here, and then I'll probably put another one out somewhere else in my garden. But I'll decide that when fall gets here and I can actually do that planting. So now it's time to water things in, and then I will sign off. Thanks for watching, everybody. If you enjoyed this, please remember to hit the like button. If you haven't already, please subscribe. And if you have any questions or anything, leave a comment down below. I try to reply to all of the comments on my videos. So, on that note, I'll see you in the garden.